I found a new hobby, and um, I've decided that I really like being a dungeon master for D&D. And I had my very first one shot last Monday, and it went great, except for the fact that a one shot is supposed to be exactly what it sounds like. It's supposed to last one session. It lasts like 3 hours, and unfortunately, it's gonna take like 4 sessions. And I have all of these exciting things that I want to talk about, and I can't tell anybody. So, I'd like to tell you, brother, about what I've done between this weekend and last weekend. Okay, so I have like 3 pages of stuff that was supposed to happen, and we only got through half of page 1. So I'll tell you about what happened, but I screwed everything up. So I'll just tell you what actually happened instead of what was like supposed to happen, because we got like 2 hours in, and then they threw me a curveball. But to start, what I did is I had them on a trail going through the Whispering Wood. It's cold, it's dark, it's scary, and all of a sudden, bam! Something attacks them from the woods. I printed out monsters, by the way, for every single monster that they're going to run into. There's so many. There are so many things that they can run into. So they're attacked by this maw demon, and then they're at the crossroad, and they're like, oh gosh, what should we do? And then they're like, well, we got some options, because we can either go, wait, is it oriented correctly? It doesn't matter. We can go forwards, or we can go sideways, or we can go to the other way, and we've got all of these choices, and these choices matter. The choices don't matter, because I made multiple maps. If they go forward, they run into the town of Woodbridge. If they go to the right, they run into the town of Woodbridge. So they arrive in the town of Woodbridge, and this is where I made my first mistake. The town is completely abandoned. Obviously something very bad and something very scary has happened here. And the point of the adventure is for them to figure out what has happened. They have to travel back in time to solve the mystery and figure out what has happened and then prevent it from happening in the first place. Which is not something you should do as an initial DM. But the second mistake, they're trying to figure out during this one shot how I DM, which is kind of tricky because I'm also trying to figure out how I DM. They had so many choices. If you just look, they arrive on one path, and then there's some other random path they could take, and some other random path, and all sorts of houses they could go to, and like, where do they go? Where's the beacon of what's important? And the beacon was supposed to be, as you enter, you see over the tree line with billowing smoke going into the air. I totally forgot to describe that. So they just wandered around this village for like, 30 minutes, until I was like, oh, of course they're wandering around. They don't have anything that they think is important that's going on. All in all, it wasn't a really massively important mistake, but it's these kinds of things that I was learning from. Another random thing that I did is in the very beginning of the session, I like to sort of get them into I went to build an atmosphere for them. In the very beginning of the session, I just spoke in character, and then I told them who was speaking after I'd already said the sentence. It is the honor of the Peace Guard to patrol and guard the high road. That's what your watch commander said to you 4 days ago before you started your patrol. So then one of the characters, who felt very guilty after completely ransacking one of the houses looking for 2 pennies, he decided to sweep. And I had him roll, I think it was an acrobatics check, and he rolled a natural 20. Rolled a 20-sided die, he got a 20. It was great. So I just said, oh my God, this house looks amazing. And he thought I was speaking in character. They were very, very confused for like a good 10 seconds. Everybody was trying to figure out who was now in this abandoned village. And the answer was there's nobody. The big consequential mistake was when they went down the other path and arrived at the Burning Cottage. So this is a map of the Burning Cottage. This is a map of, I think they're not oriented correctly. This is a map of the cottage in the past, which they have not gotten to yet. And this is when everything went awry, because I forgot to tell them 2 very important details about the Burning Cottage. The point of this cottage is this is where the big bad is, who they're going to meet. And it's some demon person who has come from like hell and has a portal to hell in the basements, which has already been opened. It's far too late then for them to save anybody. And there's this wizard guy who has decided to burn down the cottage. And they arrived, and I forgot to tell them 2 important things. First of all, the wizard was supposed to be dead, because the wizard has all of the plot points and all of the important information, and if he was alive, that would be very bad, because of course they could save him, and then they would have all of that information, because of course the wizard would want to tell them all of that information. And second of all, I should have told them that there's, I don't know, like horrifying screaming coming from the house. For them to get the idea that, okay, this wizard has burning down this house for some good reason. There's some sort of bad entity in this house. I forgot to tell them those two details, and I left the wizard alive. So the very first thing they did, hey, burning house. It looks like the wizard burned it down, and they saved the demon, which meant I needed to, all of a sudden, improvise how are they going to meet this big bad guy. But then they were getting sort of towards the end of the session. They had this entire encounter with the big bad. And the way that I solved this, I didn't really know what to do because I did not prepare the big bad. I mean, I prepared him a little bit, but I was thinking, oh, I'll have some time during the breaks where I can like kind of figure out what he wants and what he wants to do and what his stat sheet is. I had no time. All of a sudden, like they're encountering this big bad guy, and I had no clue what he was able to do, how they're supposed to fight him. So all I did is I said, okay, well, I know that there's a portal to hell in the basement. He's just going to go down there and open the doors. So then all of a sudden we've got 3 dretches and a maw demon that all of a sudden they have to fight.
Turn around.
Damn. We've got 3 dretches and a maw demon that all of a sudden they have to fight. And it's at this point the party said, I think a tactical retreat may be in order. So they escaped, but not before they took the wizard, healed them up, and took them with them. Which is a problem for me that I'm going to have to solve at next session, because at this point, the wizard was supposed to be some guy who is alive and who was trying to burn down the village, and now I have to pivot really, really hard by, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think the wizard has to be evil somehow. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. But that's the fun of D&D. It's a little bit of improv, so I guess I'll figure that out next time. And there's so much that I haven't told you about. I don't know how I thought this was going to fit into a 3-hour session. There's like entire symbols that are supposed to happen, which have mechanics to bring them into the past. There's like a half-orc who's a baker who's going to secretly have blueberry muffins to give to them. But I can't tell you any of this because I want to go to bed and have a nice date with my girlfriend. So for now, that's going to be it for me. I hope that you have a less chaotic video than I have. Until next weekend.